I got this hard ass beat.
We will be coming around with your in-flight entertainment.
Ah, yes.
And now we come to our final episode.
And it goes a little something like this.
Coming. And now the first. Coming. And now the first. Coming.
Excuse me, but I don't believe this is the Charleston.
Don't you know any nice songs?
Hi, this is Mike Green, and I hope that little intro gave you an idea of two things about Hip Hop Creator. First, it is seriously a lot of fun. Second, there are a ton of sounds in this thing, and they cover a wide range of styles, including a lot of old school classics, all the way to songs that you're hearing today. It's been 3 years that we spent working on this, mostly because we kept saying, oh, we gotta add this, and we gotta add that too. This has been a passion project for me, because believe it or not, I produced rap records back in the day, and I still get called to do songs from time to time now. I've worked with Cypress Hill, Ice Cube, Kid Frost, ALT, House of Pain, lots of rappers. Many of the sounds you'll hear on those records, they're mine. Now, I know that must sound like I'm name dropping, and I really don't mean it that way. The reason why I mention all that is because, like I said, Hip Hop Creator is a passion project for me, and it was created for what I wish I had. A ton of sounds that actually work for hip hop, all in one easy to access place. I mean, check this out. I'm not aware of any place else where you can get this deep a collection of horn hits and orchestra hits. Check it out. Now, I know I'm branding myself as old school by starting off with horn hits, but for those times when you need them, they're really hard to find. So we put a lot of time into that. And in that same vein, check out these ugly squeals and stuff that sound great in a rap track. And in that same vein, how many times do you wish you had a good organic set of sax hits? Let's put a beat against that. It sounds real because it is real. And in that same vein, we have record drops, which you can put into your track so it sounds like you lifted a sample from a record, but these are legal. I love that one. Let's bring that beat back. Or, wait a minute.
Bring that beat back!
Oh, I do amuse myself. Pretty cool, right? Or maybe you want to play a worm melody that sounds like real hip-hop. We have a whole category here called glide, with sounds that will play in what we would call legato mode. For people who are new to this, when you have one of these sounds selected, you play notes and overlap them. In other words, don't release the first note until after you've started the second note. That way you get this glide transition. Here's with no overlap. And this is with overlap. And here's a little trivia for you. You may have heard people call these worm sounds. You know why? Well, back in the 70s, the Ohio Players had a song called Funky Worm. It's a crazy song, and if you don't know it, you should check it out because you'll recognize parts of it that got sampled a lot, especially the synthesizer melody part, which is the worm. Anyway, back to this decade. And we've got Plucks sounds. One thing these are great for is if you want to do a gangster pulse kind of thing, kind of like a gliss to it. And under keys, there are a ton of pianos. And we've got organs. And a lot of synths. And of course, if you're going to be doing any trap, you're going to need bells, and that's one thing we've got a ton of. It's more bells than you can shake a stick at. And while you've got that stick, you're not going to be able to shake it at all the bases either. Okay, so we've still got the scratching and the vocals and a bunch of other stuff on this side. We'll come back to that in a bit, but now let's look at the drums. Let's start with the kicks. I think we've got 260 or something like that in here. That's a big power kick right there. I'm not going to play them all, obviously, but I will mention one thing. We recorded over 1,000 kicks, but we didn't put them all here. Not because we're being stingy, and no, we're not going to be selling an add-on version later to get more money out of you. No. The reason why we kept it at 260 or whatever it is that we have here is that we wanted to keep this limited to authentic and useful sounds. We didn't want to pad it with second-tier stuff. That's important, to me at least, because I like to work fast, so I want to be working with sounds where they all sound good. So anyway, there's a bunch of snares, over 200, a bunch of claps and hi-hats. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it is worth looking at the percussion because there's some interesting stuff here. We've got bongos and congas because those are obviously useful, especially with old school beats. And then we've got a lot of snaps variations, which can be really cool when they play stuff that you normally wouldn't associate with snaps, like this bongo pattern. It's pretty cool. Then there's shakers and tambourines and rims and cowbells, and another old school staple, go-go bells. And there's miscellaneous stuff and toms, but here's another category that's really cool, these electronic sounds. These are just plain cool, whether it's an old school beat or a new style beat. I mention them because it's really easy to forget them as an extra element for beats. If I check this little secret dot right here, then this volume slider turns into a tuning knob. We can use this same trick for hi-hat. It's something they do a lot with high-tempo dance music, but it works great for hip-hop too. Okay, so let me play some beats with the drums so you can get an idea of how they sound in context. Notice up here on the presets menu that if I have only the B lit, then only the beats get loaded. Now, since we're playing beats, let me show you the methodology for how you can modify a beat. First, we have these complexity sliders. So if you want a pattern to be more complex or less complex, you just move this slider. Or maybe you want to change the pattern. You'll notice these dots here give you an idea of what the pattern is going to sound like. You can also change the sounds, of course. these possible combinations, when you're all done, you'll have a beat that's your beat. Or, of course, if you're on a deadline scoring a TV show, then make life easy on yourself and just use one of our presets. Shh, we won't tell anyone. Okay, so now let's add bass and keyboard parts. In the same way that we can load just the beats from our presets, we can also load just the bass and keys by lighting just the K button. The beat stays the way that it is, only the keyboards and the bass change.
Coming. And now the first. Coming.
This all works the same way as the drums, where you can mix and match patterns, there are over 100 different keyboard patterns, with any of the sounds. And of course, you can use the complexity sliders too. But right now, let's look at this progression bar. Using these menus, we can set up the chords to whatever progression we want. Maybe we want our progression to be 4 bars. These little arrows here are if you want the chord to change on the upbeat. It doesn't have any effect on this particular groove because all the chords in this combination are on the beat. But if you have 8th notes or 16th notes going, this can be handy. Now, here's another cool trick. Let's add a bell track. Let me change the pattern. You can hear how the bell follows the chords. But now, let's hit this lock button. Now the bells stay on the key, which we've set to G minor. It's a common trick in pretty much all styles of music, especially where the bass might stay on whatever the key is while everybody else follows the chords. Now, while we're here, here's another thing we can do. We can change this menu to live. Now select any drum by clicking a track or clicking one of these pads. That brings up these green keys. Now the bass and keyboard parts all follow whatever chord I play on the green keys. This is great for when you're writing and you want to try out various keys or progressions. And now let's check out my favorite part of this instrument, the Randomize button. This is just plain fun. Since it's random, it does a lot of stuff that you would normally not do intentionally, because it's wrong. But sometimes wrong is right.
Carry your handy tape measure.
And of course, you can modify any of it that you don't like, or even use presets to swap in a more straightforward beat. I could do this all day long, but we're already past 20 minutes on this video, so I'm going to have to pull the plug here. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of what Hip Hop Creator is about. Want to play? Then stop on by Realitone.com and pick up a copy. Either way though, thanks for watching.